The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Valley, hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you, my pretties, are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And I don't know where your host is, Robert Winfree. Yay! All right, you're not Robert Winfree, you're Cocaine Cub.
I'm Cocaine Cub, yes. Cocaine Cub for the Cocaine Bear extravaganza that we've all been dying and waiting for.
Jason Teasley, it's just me and you. I mean, I don't know where, and I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified Mr. Mark Radulich, but that's not what's important right now. I don't know if you realize this, Jason, but we have an audience.
Oh, we do.
Just me and you. I'm thinking it might be time. It's our review of Cocaine Bear, which we've been waiting all year for.
This is
time.
True.
This might be shirtless Mark and Teasley time.
I'm down.
Maybe let's.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, let me get some more orange soda in me. We'll see how I feel. I don't know. Let me ask my in-studio audience. Shirtless Mark and Jason time.
I think you guys should go Bert Kreischer.
She says we should go Bert Kreischer and get all machine about it.
Oh, dude, I can't. I'm so stoked for that movie.
Are you?
And he's coming to West Virginia, and I'm so trying to get the wife to buy me tickets to go watch it. He is like one of my top 3 comedians.
Is he really? Yeah, we just saw him here in Tampa. He was funny. What I heard of it. All right, so. Well, I don't know where Robert Winfree is. Hopefully, he'll be joining us soon. Generally speaking, if he's not on time to a podcast, if not early, it's because he's got some personal thing. So who knows? He did say that he saw it. He didn't love it, which is depressing. It's even more depressing when we get to the money and I talk about that this did not beat Ant-Man. But let me first. You know I've been talking up this movie all year. Like
we have talked this movie up like it's the second coming of Christ.
So I used to, especially before I was social, I used to track the movies in production. There's like a Wikipedia page for it. I would spend like my downtime at work going through different lists trying to find out what's coming up. And I saw that there was a Cocaine Bear movie directed by Elizabeth Banks in the works. And I was like, as soon as they announced the date for it, it went right on the calendar. I'm like, I don't care what's coming out that day. I don't care if it's like a Marvel movie or whatever. We are talking about this movie, and I have not shut up about it all year. And the question is, did it live up to expectations?
It exceeded expectations. It exceeded expectations by a long shot. It was a bear on cocaine, and it was great.
Let me ask you a serious question, because what becomes very obvious about this movie as we begin to talk about it is that once you get past the sort of silly gimmickry of a bear on cocaine in the woods, what this really is sort of, it's a horror comedy slasher. There's a bunch of people of various dopiness wandering around a woods, and there's a monster in the woods and it's killing them. That's it. That's Friday the 13th, essentially. Only Jason's a bear. A rawr. And what a bear he is. Rawr. So in terms of just being being a slasher movie, how was this for you? Like, if you
it was like, good.
Yeah, if you just let go of the whole bear thing, you're like, was this a good slasher movie?
This was, yes, because this was equivalent to Jaws. You have this natural apex predator that really you can't really do anything with, because the takedown of bear, it takes
a
a
lot.
shit ton of firepower. But essentially, it's this apex predator that's stalking you in the woods. You're on its turf, and it's basically if you got Jaws crossed with. I'm trying to think of a good.
I compared it to Jason. You know,
Well,
I don't
no.
know how much different this is from Jason from Friday the 13th.
Well, there's a machete with Jason. Bears don't have machetes.
If we're going to be like picayune about it and pedantic.
And, you know, it's Jason is more methodical. The bear just wanted more cocaine.
Yeah. All right. Let's before we get into this, I have something here for you. I got sent this from one of my buddies. It came from ranker.com, and the original list here is 16 bizarre history facts that sound made up but aren't. One of them is about Cocaine Bear, and like the tagline for this is inspired by true events. So essentially, there really was a cocaine bear.
Yes.
Elizabeth Banks took the bones of the Cocaine Bear story and created a fiction out of it. A stellar, phenomenal, funny fiction, but a fiction nonetheless. Here's the actual story of the Cocaine Bear. In 1985, a black bear ingested 75 pounds of smuggled cocaine. If the above headline sounds vaguely familiar, it's because the story was used as the inspiration, quote unquote, for the aptly titled 2023 Cocaine Bear. In that horror comedy, a black bear discovers a large shipment of coke, eats the coke, and goes on a rampage seeking more coke. It sounds like a very human thing to do. It's like that Dennis Leary bit. Let's get another.
Yeah, it's like it's feeding.
Let's get an 8-ball. It'll last us all weekend. 20 minutes later, let's get another 8-ball. Let's get another 8-ball.
Yeah.
You ever hear that bit from Theory from No Cure for Cancer?
No.
Oh, then none of that made any sense. But
it was visually entertaining, though.
I'm glad. All right. Well, something similar did happen in Georgia in 1985, except instead of going on a coke-fueled rampage, the bear died. Aw, poor bear. The cocaine found its way to Georgia woods after it was dropped there in September 85 by Andrew C. Thornton, a one-time narcotics officer turned smuggler. Thornton met his end over the skies of Tennessee while dropping packages of cocaine from his twin-engine aircraft. According to the New York Times, he was found the morning of the 11th wearing a parachute and Gucci loafers. He had on his person several weapons and 35 kilograms of cocaine. Suspecting there was more to be found, authorities began searching the area. What they eventually found, 2 months later, was the carcass of a black bear and a slashed open duffel bag that once contained more than 75 pounds of cocaine. After an autopsy, the Georgia medical examiner reported that the bear's stomach was literally packed to the brim with coke, worth about $2 million. The bear was later stuffed and given to the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area in Kentucky, where it was later dubbed Pablo Escobar.
Actually, it's got a more lengthy. It actually has a more better lineage than that.
Hang on. Well, go ahead and say it so I can then hit my button.
It was actually purchased once it was stuffed, it was actually purchased by Liberace and went to Vegas. And now resides in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay. Under a different name or Pablo Escobar?
No, I don't know. It's just
okay.
I don't know if it has a name. I know it's in Kentucky, and I've scheduled a road trip to go see it.
Okay. Well, in terms of that Pablo Escobar name, there was no way that wasn't getting sad trombone.
Dude, that's a great name.
Anyway, Esquire reports the bear can now be found in Lexington's Fun Mall, which actually comes up at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, again, Robert still is not with us. So here's the plot of this thing. In 85, again, Andrew C. Thornton drops a shipment of cocaine from his plane. He attempts to parachute out with a drug-filled duffel bag, but knocks himself unconscious on the doorframe, causing him to fall to his death. His body lands in Knoxville, Tennessee, where he is identified by Bob, a local detective. He concludes that the cocaine is likely from a St. Louis kingpin, Sid White, and the remainder is missing. Meanwhile, in the Chattahoochee Oconomowoc National Forest, an American black bear eats some of the cocaine, becoming highly aggressive and attacking 2 hikers, Elsa and Olaf, because of course, killing the former. By the way, at dinner tonight, something came up, and I just immediately started singing "Do You Want to Kill the Batman?" Jason,
Excellent.
Jason.
Do you want to
kill the Batman? It doesn't have to be the Batman.
Yeah, but that's Cooper's stick. So I remember when I used to. I remember when I used to call into shows randomly and just ask you if you want to build a snowman, and then just hang up.
Yeah, we used to have fun.
Days.
Yep. In Northeast Georgia, middle schooler Dee Dee lives with her mom, Sari, a nurse. Dee Dee skips school with her best friend Henry in order to paint a picture of the falls in the forest. On the trail to the falls, the pair finds a lost brick of cocaine and ingests some before they are attacked by the bear. Sari ventures into the forest to search for the kids with park ranger Liz and Peter, a wildlife activist. The 3 find Henry clinging to a tree, hiding from the bear. The bear attacks, sending Peter stumbling through a pile of cocaine and slashing Liz in the process. Attracted to a cocaine-coated Peter, the bear kills him, ignoring Henry.
Hold on, that sounds hilarious. A cocaine-covered Peter.
Yeah,
somebody got excited about that.
It's like a candy. Sari and Henry flee deeper into the forest, and Liz sends for help. In St. Louis, Sid sends his fixer, David.
Token white guy.
Yeah. Hang on.
Do we have a Winfree signing?
We finally have a Winfree.
Yes, we have a Winfree.
Okay, my apologies.
If he ever gets on here,
I'm here.
Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading.
Oi, I'm here.
Can
you not hear me?
Nope,
yeah,
now
I can hear you.
Yeah, it took a minute for you to load on my screen. But I'm in the middle of the plot synopsis.
Well,
go
ahead. Just very briefly, I'm sorry I'm late. Got a new modem, and Comcast is Comcast. So I got home and was like, "Hey, no internet connection." So we reset it, and it took a bit, but I am here, and hopefully there's some stability now. So
okay, David just got to the forest. Go.
He gets to the forest, so he beats up a trio of slightly effeminate delinquents in a bathroom.
Miss you, Robert.
In a bathroom, in a men's bathroom. 4 guys, one very large. We all know what Elizabeth Banks is trying to do here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he beats all of them up and gets one of them to take him to the stashed duffel bag of cocaine, which is at a gazebo. What's a gazebo? It's a pavilion-like structure. It's deep in the forest. So the 2 drug dealers and slightly effeminate guy go out, and there's some male bonding, sort of. There's some absolutely criminal desecration of original Jordans. Just
yes,
that hurt my soul. Just right to the heart. So they go looking for that. The detective, the former state senator from the great state of Maryland.
Shit.
He finally shows up. He winds up.
You better get a hold of these motherfuckers. Why are they always up in my shit? Sorry.
He winds up at the pavilion. He finds the drugs first. Everyone shows up. Around this same time, Keri Russell and random child Henry, right?
Yeah.
They're wandering through the woods following paint trails to try and locate Dee Dee. There's a standoff at the gazebo between a couple of people with guns. No one's quite sure how the overweight geriatric detective gets on the roof of the gazebo, but he gets up there.
He shimmied up the tree and jumped off.
Then he can't get down.
Yep.
He shoots off a couple of fingers of David. Things get tense, and then the bear shows up. And things get complicated, and the bear winds up passing out on top of our weepy, mopey. They put a John in my heart instead of a Joan.
I'm not going to say who that reminded me of, but continue.
Bear passes out on top of him. They debate whether or not the bear is dead. It should be, given the amount of cocaine it's ingested.
Mm-hmm.
But Some cocaine winds up in its nostrils and it wakes up. The power of coke compels you. The bear wakes up. The bear is distracted by more cocaine from the detective. It heads off into the forest. Ray Liotta shoots the detective, like you do. The detective's partner shows up, but is revealed to be the worst person in the world. She left a dog alone in a car with the windows up. Just for shame. There's a bit more fighting. I may have skipped over the. Did we skip? Did you get to the bear's attack on the ranger outpost?
No, we have not got. We did not cover that.
Okay, so skipped over. But yeah, there's an attack at the ranger outpost. The ranger gets back and is trying to call for help, and there's a few of the other two delinquents, the ones not the other two who did not go off into the forest. There we called 911, we called for an ambulance, and they show up and they were worried about a concussion, probably a fair concern in all honesty. Dude got hit in the head with a skateboard more than once. That'll do it. But as they're all here, the ranger shows up and is traumatized because she's been bitten and mauled by the bear, just horribly mauled, and she can hear the bear outside, and she goes, okay, you open the door on 3 and I'm going to shoot it. And one of these guys opens the door and he sees a bear and he thinks they're talking about David. So he goes, oh, it's a bear. And he steps in front of the gun and is summarily shot in the head. Like you do.
Yeah.
The bear attacks them. The bear wreaks havoc. The paramedics show up. Thinking that they're just here to deal with a mild concussion. And instead, there's a coked out bear that is just dismembering people. The bear mauls them. It nearly kills one of them. They get into the ambulance. They try to drive away, but the bear chases them down, leaps into the back of the ambulance, knocks the park ranger out of it, and she dies of a horrible road rash.
Oh God, that was painful.
That was the worst kill of this, like the most graphic, like pain-inducing kill in the entire movie.
Yeah,
you ain't lying. The bear attacks in the back of the ambulance. This all leads to him leads to the bear killing this internet meme guy whose work I actually like. And the driver crashes the ambulance head-on into a tree and is ejected through the front windshield. The bear marches off, complete with its carnage, then goes to find the cocaine that was in the gazebo. That's where they meet up. Ray Liotta, who has showed up, expresses to his son that we're on the hook to a bunch of mad Colombians. And it's 1985, so it's probably Pablo Escobar or some associates.
Oh, you missed the Pablo Escobar pun.
I did choose to avoid that one.
Yes, it was named Pablo Escobar, and I gave it the sad trombone, like you would.
I would have given that the sad trombone, too.
Mm-hmm.
I would have gave it the rusty trombone. Hey,
I'm sure you would have. Hey, you know what? Jason and I almost went no shirt for this. It's a good thing you came along when you did.
You would have gotten us. You understand you can't be shirtless on Twitch.
I'm not on Twitch.
You're not streaming on Twitch? Why not?
Sean's doing his show.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think YouTube still frowns on it, but fair enough.
Frowns on casual nudity.
Yes, it does. Pretty heavily, in point of fact. This all culminates with Keri Russell and Henry.
Mark's coming back on screen shirtless, and I'm
Probably.
not going to be here for this.
Keri Russell and Henry find the hiker from earlier who winds up murdered off screen. They find Dee Dee, who is in a cave with the 2 little cocaine bears, the cubs, who are just frolicking in mountains of cocaine, like Tony Montana near the end of Scarface, just having a grand old time. Ray Liotta and the others show up. Everyone winds up in the cave. Everyone winds up walking through the cave, out the back to behind the secret falls. But there is no way out. This is not an approved trail. This is just them screwing around. Ray Liotta still wants his cocaine back. There's a standoff. There's some words exchanged. The bear cubs kind of molest Ray Liotta a little bit, and he hits them. But all this attracts the attention of the mother, the cocaine bear. She shows up. Most everyone jumps off the cliff. Ray Liotta shoots the cocaine bear several times, including a stray that grazes David. The cocaine bear falls nearly to its death, but one of the kilos breaks open, and the shower of cocaine rejuvenates the mother bear, who climbs back up and attacks Ray Liotta and disembowels him for the cubs to feast upon. And then before they can actually feast, he just tips him over the edge. And the bears pose, and everyone else recollects down in the river to die of hypothermia that night. No, wait, sorry, the other thing. They all survive. They all go back to the parking lot. The fancy dog goes to live with, what's his name?
Yeah, the son.
The son.
Yeah.
The denim cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
The fancy dog goes to live with him and his son now that he's, a widower. David goes on to restart his life away from the perils of the drug trade, one would assume. They're all going to be murdered by the Colombians in short order for losing all of this cocaine. And our two children and Keri Russell walk back home past a scene of horrific gore as the authorities arrive. And we get a little stinger about the bears still being alive in the woods with all the cocaine that they had found, just all of it, and menacing more tourists to Chattahoochee National Forest. And I can pull this off because I can come back in late. I am a professional, damn it.
Very good.
And
All right.
and you get a second stinger about the dog eating the fingers.
That's right.
I missed that one, but okay.
Yeah, I was not saying for the second thing I read about it. All right, Jason, I know you love this movie. Just go ahead and do your thing. Hang on, before you do though, I asked Jason to kind of think about the movie in terms of just being a slasher. Was it a good slasher movie? And Jason kind of gave his thought about that. If you want to weigh in when it comes back around, Robert, be my guest. Go ahead, Jason. Your overall thoughts.
Phenomenal. This movie was the greatest thing that has happened to me in my life in the year of our Lord of 2023. I seen a bear on cocaine, and it made me happy. It was the legitimate popcorn movie that I needed.
Yeah.
To where I could just sit down, tune out, and just enjoy the absolutely buffoonery that we was able to bask in. And surprisingly, at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning, there were 70 people in the theater I was in.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually convinced my wife to go see it with me, and she looked at me afterwards and went, "What the hell did I just watch?" I said, "You watched the greatest movie of your generation, and you shut the hell up and you like it." And she just rolled her eyes at me. She said, "I
Keys
did
to
it."
a happy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yes, lay back and think of England is a strong tenet of marriage. It really is the center leg.
I will say this. She said, "Well, it wasn't as bad as Knock in the Woods, Knock at the Cabin." I said,
it's not wrong.
I said, "Well, this bear had a bear with cubs. That all three were on cocaine, and done
cocaine would have made Knock at the Cabin better.
A coked out Dave Bautista.
Chewing cocaine would have made the experience better. Yes.
Yeah, a coked out Dave Bautista would have been a lot better because it would have made a lot more sense. But this was just exactly what I expected it to be. Just dumb fun, carnage galore, showering in cocaine, a bear dancing in cocaine as he became happy and joyous. And it made my heart smile. This was therapy for me.
Okay. The movie was directed by Elizabeth Banks. She's been in a million and one TV shows.
If you want to know how stupid Elizabeth Banks is, she thought this movie would end her career.
Okay. Hold that thought. I'm going to come back to it. But
you directed the Charlie's Angels that nobody wanted and less people like. And you're worried about Cocaine Bear?
She's definitely very agenda driven, and she's very firmly in the Hollywood bubble. She is not in tune with reality. But if you'll allow me, Your Honor, she has.
No, I won't.
She has. Oh my God, I liked it better when you were gone. She directed Charlie's Angels, the remake from 2019, the one that the woke one that came out around the time of Terminator Dark Feminism. And we talked about it at the time. We didn't review it fully because God knows. I mean, I saw it and I brought my daughter.
You saw it because your daughter held you hostage.
And I think Robert would have had an aneurysm if you made him review.
I prefer to reframe that as I'm a good father and wanted to spend time with my kid, and that was something she enjoyed. Sure.
Spend time with your kid on things that are better than that movie.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some of the concerts you've taken her to. We know
Okay.
you at least have a little bit of taste in.
If I could finish a
cross-train your
fucking
daughter.
thought.
No, you can't.
So she also directed Pitch Perfect 2, and then she produced a whole bunch of movies.
3.
She produced the first Pitch
Hey,
Perfect.
Wasn't it 3?
She produced I'm looking right at it.
Okay.
She produced the first Pitch Perfect, the second one, which she also directed, and then the third one she just produced.
Okay.
And then she's been in a bunch of other things. I bring that up because never mind the fact that she's divorced from political reality. Never mind the fact that she says some of the dumbest things ever captured on a notepad and put into print. We could spend time. I don't really want to spend time talking about how dumb Elizabeth Banks is. What I wanted to draw attention to,
but we could spend so much time doing that.
What I wanted to draw attention to, related to the fucking movie we're reviewing, is she has a very quirky sense of humor. Quirky in a way that I think stands out to me, especially in contrast to a lot of other women in Hollywood that have any kind of power creatively. And that is all over this movie, is the point that I was trying to make an hour and a half ago. Cocaine Bear is a very quirky movie. It is a fun take on the slasher genre. Because essentially, and this is what I was talking about with Jason at the top of the show, there's a monster in the woods, a bunch of dopes in the woods. The monster, mauls the dopes, and then your final girl manages to escape the monster and get out of danger, and the movie ends. The bones of it are pretty strong, and then she just sort of ladens it with a good enough cast to pull off like a combination of horror and like almost over the top parody style acting. And that is largely why the movie works. It's not perfect. I know Jason loved the shit out of it, but if we're being honest and we're looking at the craft, the movie's got some issues. The movie's got some. No, I have to, Jason. I have to. We are reviewing a movie here. Movie's got some issues. It's 90 minutes, so it's that's one of the positives about it. It is a nice tight feature. Jason and I, it's one of the reasons why I'm glad Jason's actually on this show, is Jason and I tend to deal with a lot of we just did the Pam Grier stuff. We've done not just for Black History Month, but we've done quite a number of, B movie,
Zombies,
Velocipaster, Santa Jaws,
Zombie tidal wave,
yeah,
all classics.
And we've had a lot of conversations about the B movie, which kind of dovetails into something that Robert and I have been documenting for the last couple of years, and that is the loss of the mid-level feature. This, for all intents and purposes, Cocaine Bear is one of those rare triumphs for modern theater exhibition, in that by all rights this should have gone to a streamer, but they took it's got a small enough budget, which we'll talk about in the money. They took a chance on it, figuring it's got such a it doesn't really have a name cast.
There's enough novelty here.
Yeah, this was a curiosity enough to take a flyer and put it in theaters to see how well it will do. And it's a Universal picture, and I'm again stand and applause at Universal's bravery for putting something like this in theaters. Sandwiched in between Ant-Man and Creed, and not too long after. I think Scream, Shazam, John Wick, and Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I was talking to my wife about this earlier. Starting with Ant-Man, we are really into a run of 3 or 4 months of every week is a tentpole feature. When it used to not be like this, but so I mean,
no, it's always been like this.
No, it's only been like this since Deadpool. And that was 2015, I think. But my point is, Cocaine Bear is one of these really quirky throwback pictures that I wanted to see. I mean, I made a lot of jokes about it, obviously, and I did my usual Peter Griffin obsession thing. But it's one of those where I wanted it to succeed because I want Hollywood to. This is one of those lizard brain moments that I wanted Hollywood to go more stuff like this.
Yeah,
we'll talk about why that's not going to happen now with the money. But
hang on for just a second on that note.
Mm-hmm.
If you track the last 2 years, let's go over the last 2.5 years.
Okay, that would include COVID.
Well, hang on. There's a handful of movies that have come out that have done well enough and gained enough buzz to kind of warrant a relook at this kind of gonzo genre.
Right.
You had Malignant, you had Barbarian that came out recently. It's a freaking weird movie, but you've got that.
It's on a lot of people's best of the year.
A lot of weird people.
Yeah.
A lot of film people.
I didn't
Move on.
I didn't hate this is not about Barbarian, but Megan falls into this category. You've had enough of these over the last, again, like 18-ish months that have been enough of a hit to get, I think, a lot of people revisiting this style of filmmaking, this style of film in and of itself.
I was talking to Jonas, because he has me as a father, has now gotten interested in not just casually watching films, but he asks a lot of like finance and in production questions.
Why didn't Morbius make more money, Dad? Do people hate fun?
Yeah, kind of. But he did. But he did, word for word. No. But he did. He asked me questions like, why do certain things get into theaters and certain things don't? How, and like how do movies make money? And I told him, like, one sure, and Robert, this, one sure fire way for a movie, and this falls into that category, to make money is make it for cheap. Make the budget, think something like the Blair Witch Project, which was shot for $1.50 and a stick of chewing gum, and it made like a couple $1 million because it was a huge hit.
Oh yeah, I mean, the most profitable movie of all time, answer the word profitability, is still, I believe, the first Paranormal Activity, which was shot for like
$1.50.
It's shot for like, no, I mean the series, like it was shot for like $75,000,
right?
And it made
millions of dollars,
hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
So the profitability margin there is just enormous.
Right. And so I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Cocaine Bear looks good for the budget that was used for it. They used not a particularly known cast, like O'Shea Jackson. He was in Straight Outta Compton. He played his dad, and he's been in this or that, but he's not. I would say he's not a well-known actor.
He's not.
You've got what's her nuts? Margo something or other, who everyone's seen her in everything, but no one knew what her name was. Margo Martindale, who's Ranger Liz. Again, she's a known actress. She's been in 100 things. She was in a show I really liked a few years ago that was about Phyllis. What's her fucking the feminism movie, Mrs. America. It was the one about Phyllis Schlafly.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you're not actually narrowing that down with some of the pathways you're taking.
Sorry, Ms. America or Mrs. America is what it was. It was a movie about the women's rights movement, and
was it?
And she was in that, and she's good. She's a good character actress. But again, everyone's like, I've seen her in everything. No, know what her name is. Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta's like the biggest name in this, besides maybe Keri Russell. But when was Keri Russell was in anything?
Look, your two biggest name actors are Ray Liotta and Keri Russell, by a mile.
Okay, the last thing Keri Russell was in was Antlers.
And that's not a bad movie.
No, but nobody saw it.
Look, Keri Russell has done she's one of those actresses that at a certain point seemed like she might be poised to break through and never quite did, and wound up doing she winds up taking leading or very close to leading roles in a lot of lower budget movies. It's kind of
she was Zori Bliss. Blink twice if you saw her. She was Zori Bliss in The Rise of Skywalker. She's Ellie in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in 2014. And then, the farther back you go, like, who fucking cares? So anyway,
she did a lot of television work recently. She was one of the leads in The Americans, if memory serves.
Yeah. So again,
you had the guy from Modern Family in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was him, and I had to really look closely. I'm like, oh my god, they dressed him up well for this. So again, you have a mid-tier cast of nobody with a real significant name. There's like the draw of this is the gimmickry,
premise.
The premise. So it's shot for low. The cast is not a high-priced cast. It's not a bunch of Margot Robbies. And then
not be a high-priced actress.
And then you have this really fun premise. This is kind of unique. It's a bear on drugs, tearing apart people in a forest. Those are all the good things about this movie. There
was nothing bad about this movie, Mark.
Stop. It is not well.
You got to let me go. You got to let me go into this thing.
Give me. Well, let me have my say here.
Yeah.
It's not a well-paced movie. No. There's almost not enough of the bear in this, which is not. It's not fucking Jaws or Godzilla 2014 or anything like that. But there's still not for 90 minutes. even though it starts off with the bear, ingesting the cocaine, there's a long break between the first time we see the bear with the coke and the first kill, and then the next kill. There's a lot, and I don't want to be the guy that's like, can we not do character building? But like, there's too much time spent with this ensemble cast and getting everybody to it took too long to get the kids to the mall, is what I'm saying. And then it's too long in between set pieces. And here's the other, and this is the last problem I really had with the movie. Other than being too long in between set pieces, it's a fine enough cast. They have enough screen presence and chemistry that it'll get you through. But in terms of like people you want to cheer for to see succeed, because there's something interesting about them, the movie is almost utterly devoid of that. As funny as O'Shea Jackson and the guy he's partnered up with are, and as funny as Margo Martindale is with the guy from Modern Family, and the kids are great in this. The kids are fucking spectacular.
Serious kudos to the child actors, which is a rare thing to say, but
they are excellent in this.
They're really good.
There's not enough dynamic or interesting things about them or their plots or their motivations. This is almost a criminal misuse of Isiah Whitlock, who is Senator. He's so funny on The Wire. They could have given him more, and instead they kind of made him like Harrison Ford in Patriot Games, and he's just wandering around befuddled. There was way too much with the dog. So it's like when the bear is killing people, the movie is awesome. When the bear isn't killing people, the movie drags. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, here's the biggest problem with this movie. And I mean the biggest. Like, the pacing issue is a problem. The bear and lack of the bear is kind of a problem. The characterization, like, the biggest problem with this movie is if the humor doesn't land, this thing is a drag.
Yeah.
This is a straight up drag if the humor does not hit for you. And it didn't hit for me. I wanted to like this movie. I really did. And unfortunately, there's just long stretches where if the comedy's not up your alley, you're just left watching unfunny punchlines and just kind of going, can we move this along? Oh no, the guy's weeping again over his dead wife. Like, I get that that's sad, but you're like, it's not that funny the fourth time.
This needed like Chris Tucker's. This needed a lot. I'm not a huge fan of yelling at the camera. This movie needed a bunch of funny black guys yelling at the camera. There was a lot of comparisons to Snakes on a Plane. Snakes on a Plane is a really funny premise. Okay. And what makes Snakes on a Plane is Samuel. No one remembers who else is in that movie. Everyone remembers Samuel L. Jackson, though. And why does everyone remember Samuel L. Jackson? Because Samuel L. Jackson says the thing. I am tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. The thing about Samuel L. Jackson is he's doing that like energy through the whole movie. And he's in most of the movie. So either you've got Samuel L. Jackson mugging for the camera or you've got snakes killing people. It's great. This movie needed that kind of presence and that kind of energy through the whole thing, and it lacked that.
Okay, we can talk structurally about this a little bit. I don't mind us getting to know the characters, but there's the problem is it has to have purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, nothing about this has purpose. Nothing about the time we get to know the characters really means anything. It doesn't make us care about the characters. It doesn't establish tension. It's just introduction after introduction after introduction, allegedly building characters.
Right.
I mean, look, the gold standard for movies like this remains the first Tremors. Like, that's a nearly perfect movie. If every scene has a purpose, every bit of dialogue has a purpose, it all has payoff. It establishes characters that you care about, even if you don't know them very well, but there's a sense to it. There's a, I mean, it's directed by Ron Underwood, which is what helps that tremendously. Elizabeth Banks is not a director of especially strong vision, and that is really lacking in this film.
No, I feel like she sat with an artist and did storyboards, and there was a lot of. So I'm going to bring up something from a week ago. And I'm bringing it up because of your pissy reaction to it. But Jason and I were having fun fan casting a remake of Black Mama, White Mama.
Okay, can I just I haven't had the chance. I was going to talk with you about this before the Ant-Man review.
Yeah.
And apologize for kind of snapping the way that I did.
I let it go, but
well, I was going to apologize because here's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I came back from watching Quantumania.
Yeah.
Which is a very stupid movie.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I see in the chat is you going, well, originally I had Cardi B and someone else put in Taylor Swift. And my brain promptly chewed its way through the top of my skull going, I've had enough. I am out.
You've had enough of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane, huh?
So that's why I kind of reacted the way that I did. I'm sorry. Like, that was not.
Don't let it happen again.
Much like my wife, I have learned when you are having a snit, give you space, you'll come back when you're ready. But the point was, Jason and I, we're not really gonna make a movie. I'm fucking dead broke. First of all, Jason lives in the woods of like West Virginia. We're not making a real movie.
We can make
hey,
Cocaine Bear too.
Look, Jason might find some of the cocaine that was lost. He might come into the windfall here.
You can get someone to buy a brick of cocaine off you and not steal it off you, white man. You know, be my guest. More power to you. It's only in America. My point is, we were having fun. Like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we had this actress and this actress and this our imaginary remake of Black Mama, White Mama? In our chat, we are always like, who would be a better this or that, or what kind of crazy movie are we putting? I think I think we were pitching a movie that was like a cross between fucking Black Mama, White Mama, new nuns with big guns and Velocipaster. You know, we were like it's always stupid shit like that.
And for some reason, you decided Margot Robbie was going to be
well. That
my point is
on my shoulders. That lands on my shoulders because I want her to be the. She doesn't have to be the lead. She's a good supporting character. Doesn't have to be the focal point, and we need to get her a win.
I feel like this was Elizabeth Banks's process. Is the point that I'm making? Is the same sort of idiocy where Jason and I are just having fun as friends. Like, wouldn't this be funny if? When you talk about Elizabeth Banks not having a strong aesthetic or vision or, really artistic lens, I think kind of like a Kevin Smith where she's just like, this sounds funny to me. Does this sound funny to you, George? Yes, Elizabeth, this is funny. This is making me laugh. Great, let's put it in the movie. And there's like a stack of cards with storyboards on them, and it's just one joke after another. And then it was like, okay, let's go shoot it. And then, and it's like they gave it to like a script writer, and he's like, okay, I'll make something out of this mess you've given me. And then voila, you have a very simple script laden with stuff that was probably funny to her, may or may not work with your audience. I will tell you, in the audience that I was with, and I'll talk a little bit about this in the money as well. I saw Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey on its debut. I know it got a couple of extra days. I don't know if it's still out in theaters. And I know like a lot of theaters pulled it because no interest. But this thing apparently did historically bad. Despite the fact that it got greenlit for a fucking sequel.
You telling me there's no interest in a horror adaptation of Winnie the Pooh done by people in bad masks?
So
people were... You jest, sir. Surely this cannot be the world we live in, where that premise does not draw millions of dollars and develop just the biggest fan following ever. Coming hot on the heels of Avatar, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and a deranged Christopher Robin about to turn into the Punisher in mid-1970s England.
You good?
Only the crossover between that and the Christopher Robin movie.
That movie, that Christopher Robin really did need Winnie the Pooh bursting into the door with a knife going, you left. Anyway, my point being, I didn't need to talk about Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, not because it's, also a bear, but just the people were laughing in the theater. They are in on the joke. The whole movie's a stupid joke. The whole project is, what can we do that's funny to us? That's like, like wrong. What goes against the grain? What walks up the down staircase? And people were like, we're here for it. We are here to laugh at this movie. We are here to laugh at the bad masks, the bad dialogue, the bad acting, the bad special effects. We're here to laugh at all of this and have a grand old time watching this like D-level movie. That was kind of my experience with Cocaine Bear, where every time the bear was on screen mauling people were hooting and hollering and screaming, and it was like being at a hockey game.
Yeah.
When the bear's not doing that, everyone's like, it's almost like being in a wrestling match
They're
where
looking at their watches.
Yeah, it's like being in a wrestling match where you're just like, oh look, it's Ricochet and fucking Sheamus. Meh. You're like, when's Roman Reigns coming back out? When, it's like you're there to see the stars, and the show is going to be full of filler matches, and you're like, you'll patiently sit through it because you paid your ticket. But you really came to see Roman Reigns. You really came to see Brock Lesnar, that sort of thing. And that's kind of, and so again, and this is my biggest criticism of the film, in the hands of, I think, a more competent director who I think has more projects under their belt, better understands what works with this sort of thing, and creates more story for the audience to get into in between the parts where the bear's killing people, I think this is better. Instead, you have a look. She's a very talented and experienced actress. She's not a talented and experienced director. She's had 2 previous directed, movies that she directed, and one of them bombed.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and go against you, Mark, because I think this was in the right person's hands, because there was such a low level of success for her that she could do. There was such a low bar to clear to get her a win. This is like, goes back to my Margot Robbie wanting to get her a win. This is her bar. It was set so low. Okay, I don't disagree with your premise. She doing something like this is outside of her wheelhouse. Okay.
I don't disagree with your premise that this one is an easy enough project for her to get a good win under her belt. I'm just saying a better director makes this a better movie.
But it doesn't have to be a good movie. This movie, it's a bear. It's a movie about a bear on cocaine. You don't need a great director. You don't need a Marvel level movie. You need.
Oh my God! I don't want a Marvel level movie, I'll settle for fucking Banshees of Inisherin.
Look, we would have been happy if this was Snakes on a Plane. If this was
but
that level.
This is what I'm saying is this movie did exactly what it hit the target audience, which was primarily stole people. It really it is contributed to the fall off of Ant-Man. I feel. Because it drew that audience that typically would go see a Marvel movie, not the Marvel movies nosediving right now, but it gave them an alternative to go to see a movie that is in their wheelhouse, that is in our generation's wheelhouse.
Here's my only counter to you, and then I'm going to let Robert finish what he was saying so we can move on because we're almost at an hour. In the immortal words of Sean Comer, just because it's a children's movie doesn't mean it has to be stupid. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but is there not a way to make this better? Like, why are we?
Oh yeah.
So here's the thing, and I see this a lot with like cooking competition shows where you take a standard like a meatloaf dish. Here's meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and green beans. Elevate this. It's fine the way it is. It's fine the way it is. Meatloaf is fine. Mashed potatoes are fine. Green beans are fine. However, the challenge is there a way to make this better? And
you can say that for any movie.
No, some movies are fine just the way they are because they're awesome. This had an awesome
Name
premise.
one.
This had an awesome premise. It could have been better in a more competent director's hand. Robert, go ahead and finish up.
Okay. Again, there's a structural problem here that I really think needs to be addressed as well, and this is because I think this is Elizabeth Banks's issue. This is supposed to be a horror comedy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more a comedy horror. And that's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
It leans a lot heavier. Again, it leans a lot heavier on the comedy.
That's what I was saying. Like, this felt like a collection of jokes that she and like another like writer friend put on postcards. Or put on like cards.
And again, like if you lean more into the action horror side of this, then you have less variability because everyone's there for that. And the humor is a nice addition.
Mm-hmm.
If you lean into the humor first and foremost, anyone that doesn't like your sense of humor is going to bounce off of this.
You know what is a really good example of that? The first Scream movie. The first Scream
Cabin in the Woods.
I didn't see Cabin in the Woods, but the first Scream movie, one of the first two Evil Deads. I'm gonna stick with Scream because that's the most freshest in my mind. But I remember like there were definitely funny things about Scream, but it was first and foremost a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the first scene with Drew Barrymore being disemboweled set the tone, but that didn't mean there weren't funny things throughout the movie to sort of, offset that tone at times. As opposed to what you're saying here, where it was like it's almost not a horror movie. It's like a horror because that genre encompasses so much. And it's more of a gross comedy.
It leans closer to that,
yeah.
There's a couple of issues. Like, again, if you're going to introduce characters, I'm fine with that. We should care about the people on screen. However, your introductions need to serve a purpose. Like, you need to fold your introductions into establishing relationships, establishing stakes, and establishing like tone and atmosphere. Like, if there's something, like, there needs to be a sense of dread that builds with this movie while we're introducing all the other players. Like, there needs to be stuff going on that keeps the atmosphere what it's supposed to be, and there's not. It's just bouncing between character introductions. I agree with you that there's not enough of the bear. Like, there's not enough kills.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough. Like, this needed more. This needed more of the violence. It needed to lean more into the Gonzo stuff.
A better way of doing this is send a good dozen or so mob guys to go look for the cocaine in the woods.
Yeah, that would be a way to do it. Or, you want to be a little darker, and you know me, I like things dark. It's the 1980s, right?
Yeah.
Have a troop of Boy Scouts be on.
I fucking knew it. I'm like, he's gonna say Cub Scouts. He's gonna.
Boy Scouts, not Cub Scouts. We don't want to go that. Like, you have the two young kids.
Mm-hmm.
Have a bunch of teenagers.
Can I tell you that was the funniest scene in the entire movie? Like, not counting any particular bear kill, because I'm not entirely sure it's a fair comparison. So take away all the bear kills and just stack up the jokes one after another and compare them. The funniest scene in this movie is the kids doing cocaine.
Them trying to figure out how to do cocaine.
Yeah, that is hysterical. And you said it before. I said it. All power in the world to these fucking kids. I hope they get all the parts. They are phenomenal.
They're
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the scene of him in the tree was pretty amazing too.
A lot of the movies that doesn't work unless he's working, and he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's the other problem with this movie. I don't know if this was a budgetary issue or a timing issue, but it has a very anticlimactic ending.
Dude, no lie, the last about 10 minutes I was asleep.
It doesn't maintain momentum in that respect.
I mean, how can you? Okay, end the movie the way you think it should end.
Okay. First of all,
minus killing Cub Scouts.
Yeah, no. I like taking the movie as it currently stands.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm willing to go with that premise. The setting of being behind the waterfall on that ledge is not done well, because like there's no real sense of space to it. There's no real sense of like urgency and geography, because some of the time the green screen is set to where they are by the waterfall, and some of the time it's on the soundstage, and the editing there just never remains coherent enough to keep that being a source of tension. So if we're gonna have the cave scene, I'm actually okay with the bear cubs. They need to be less cute and more feral. Like,
I'm almost wondering if we needed to go like, it's not like the movie is about the bear and the bear is killing people, but there are other animals in that woods. And you almost need to go really big in the end. I think that's also like when you say it's underwhelming, because it becomes about saving saving Dee Dee in the end, which is fine. It's a fine enough thing. But like, what should have happened was that the cocaine, like more animals got into cocaine, and the National Guard showed up, and you just have full on fucking Royal Rumble with a full on bunkhouse brawl between the National Guard.
Well, okay, hang on.
And a bunch of wild animals on cocaine.
Here's what I wouldn't have done that. Here's what I might have done.
See, I would have.
If we have, well, again, if we have some budgetary constraints, if you let me rework the ending a little bit here, there's a couple of more mobsters, and a bunch of them do find some of the other duffel bags of coke, and they get it back to their truck, their vehicle, or whatever, and they're doing that as Ray Liotta and his, and that other group is off doing their happy adventure. I might, if you want to keep the bear cubs, for some reason, like they're not necessary, but if you do want to keep them, Ray Liotta kills them, and everyone else runs away. Like we can still have them like jumping, like hiding as the bear, now not only high on cocaine but enraged at the death of her cubs, chases Ray Liotta, who is running with he can be running with a couple of duffel bags of coke. A couple of them get torn open, so it's flying out behind him. He is like the Pied Piper of Snowman here, running through the forest. He gets to the truck. The bear chases them. So this last group is like driving. We have a kind of a repeat of the ambulance scene. It goes on longer, and they actually like get to the outskirts of the town. Like this needs a slightly. If we want to go a little bit bigger here, we don't need to go full on National Guard, but like this bear chases them down the freeway. In this, like, perpetually bathed in this waft of cocaine, as some of the other cops have started to show up, because we've established that authorities have been contacted. They set up like a roadblock on the outskirts of the town as these drug dealers and this monstrosity of a bear come barreling at them, and we get like the last stand at the Alamo when everyone's driving towards the hail of gunfire from the police officers as they're trying to stop this from hitting the town.
We have to, if we throw Elizabeth Banks in the pool and you have me directing it, there has to be the binocular shot, The fucking bear, man. All right, anything else, Robert?
If you were directing this, you'd recreate Sir Lancelot charging over the hill from Monty Python and the Holy Grail with the bear.
Yes. I would also, that chase into town would look like Fury Road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going big here.
With the giant clouds of cocaine.
Yeah.
Instead of
right.
dust.
Oh yeah. No.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Again, like some of my ideas there are like budgetary constraints, like because we could do another car chase without adding too much to what's going on there, and that wouldn't be too difficult, and it might work a little better than the way this ended. It just, again, the ending isn't quite there, and the characters, they're not quite there. You don't really care about them in any kind of meaningful way, so you don't care when they die. And it's okay to cheer when the monster gets a nice kill, but there should be a few people that you care about, and there's just not. Some of the deaths are really underwhelming. Not the bear deaths; those are mostly fine, but some of the the guy getting shot on the roof of the gazebo and then just kind of laying there monologuing and bleeding out was a real miss.
The paramedic going through the windshield looked cool, especially the way that was shot. That was a good use of the camera.
That was really nice.
Margo Martindale's falling, strapped to the gurney and rode back from death.
Needed more of that. Like that, we needed a lot. Like the only decent horror bit of this movie is actually the attack at the ranger station. Like even the stuff in the clearing where the bear climbs the trees, that's okay, but for some reason there's a lack of tension there, and I'm not entirely sure what it's down to. Probably the fact that it was in the trailer, so we all know what's going to happen. Like a lot of the good. If there's another problem with this movie, the trailer gives away way too much of the good stuff here. Way too much of it. I needed more. Like I honestly, again, like to borrow from the Tremors setup. Like if there's a small town nearby that the bear can terrorize, instead of just being in the woods, I think this works a little better.
Yeah, they needed a location change.
I think the 1976 Grizzly movie could have took a lot. They could have took a lot, because that essentially is a bear that's just went fucking insane and he's terrorizing an entire fucking forest. And I think that's what you needed more of that. You needed more of like a posse going out after the bear or something, like you said. Like
this needed to be the end of the Peach Dragon remake.
The bear really we needed to see it do more than just like do coke and wander around. We need to see this thing massacre some regular animals. Like they need to find more than just dead humans on occasion.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I want to say, and this is going to be a little bit of praise here. You and I have talked a little bit, Mark, in the past about movies that don't do enough with their time period.
Yep.
This movie is set in 1985, I seem to recall.
It could have been 75, 85, 95, or 2005. It would not have made a difference.
It could not. Hang on. It couldn't be 2005 because there's a payphone.
Okay.
I'm gonna say so. This is not the best use of your time setting. It's not the worst either, and the wardrobing all feels appropriate to the time. I mean, the little girl is sitting there with headphones and a Walkman, drawing on her white shoes. Come on, Mark.
Yeah. I was going to say Keri Russell's tracksuit.
Keri Russell's tracksuit. Like, they don't drench this film in 80s. Like, it's not that.
Yeah.
But they do enough to keep the time period fresh. And frankly, the time period, again, it's not a big character part of this movie. But they do enough with it to kind of help that add a little bit of vibrancy to it. I would have preferred more, frankly. Like, we can do more with the setting here time-wise. But they also didn't abandon all pretense of the year in favor of a bunch of modern sensibilities either. So,
all right,
better than others.
All right. Well, now the truly depressing. I was going to cut two different videos. One, if it had beaten Ant-Man, it was going to be like the William Tell Overture and like a bunch of celebrations and explosions. But if it did what it did, I was just going to play the Send in the Clowns thing from The Simpsons.
Do it.
So I don't have it, unfortunately. But ladies and gentlemen, I've had a rough year or two. And if we go back to me getting cancer, I've had a rough everything since 2017. This is the saddest I've ever been. Go ahead.
Mark's spiritual 2020 started 3 years before 2020.
So here it is. The saddest moment of my life to date. The saddest moment of my life so far.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Alrighty. People are like, really? You're taking it that fucking seriously? Yeah.
I need to get into something as we talk about the money here. So last week, when we reviewed Ant-Man and the Wasp, we talked about the money it had made in its opening weekend, and bless Alexis for kind of making it work.
I heard the review, and she's like, "How does he do this?" And everyone just like practice.
Because you've done it a lot, and again, credit to you. You're good at it.
Every week for almost every week since what, 2014?
How long have we been on camera?
We've only been on camera for
June of 2021 is when we went on camera.
Okay, so you've had a couple of years of practice of getting this smoothly down, and it shows. Yeah. You're a professional. You do very well at this. But when we were talking about it, I predicted, like I said, Ant-Man and the Wasp is gonna take a serious drop, and I said 60%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a normal drop for a big opening is 50-ish, 55%.
Right.
If you can only get a 40% drop, you've done something really good. Like, that's a really strong hold. Turns out my pessimistic 60% was optimistic for the almost 70% drop Ant-Man and the Wasp took in its second week.
And yet it's still the number one movie of the weekend. It just breaks my fucking heart, man. All right. Well, that being said, on a budget of $35 million, this thing made $28.5 million as of recording, which is on our not normal night. We're on a Monday night tonight. As of February 26, 2023, Cocaine Bear grossed $23.3 million in the U.S. and Canada and $5.3 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $28.5. In the U.S. and Canada, Cocaine Bear was released alongside Jesus Revolution, which was initially projected to gross $15 to $20 million at almost 3,500 theaters in its opening weekend. The film made $8.7 million on its first day, including $2 million from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut $23.1 million, finishing second behind holdover Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. So the weekend that was February 24th through the 26th. Yep, Ant-Man and the Wasp retained its despite the almost 70% drop.
Okay, we need to have just a minute to look at that drop for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So here's
That's catastrophic.
So here's what I've been saying. I've been kind of beating a drum about this. And if you follow the show week to week, if you've been watching us for a while, I don't want to repeat too much of myself because people have to be getting sick of hearing the same shit every week. So I don't want to beat too much. Suck a dick. But
eat my ass.
Save it for the OnlyFans, guys.
Sorry. You're right. Save it for the OnlyFans. Make them pay for it. Make them pay for it. Disney Plus is killing Disney. I said this with our year in review, and I want to be very specific so that I'm not totally repeating myself, but this point needs to be made. Disney invested a lot of money and time in creating exclusive content, both movies and television shows, for Disney Plus, thinking they would be competitive with Netflix. They're not. Netflix is still by far the most subscribed to streaming service in the world, and Netflix has reached market saturation. So at this point, everyone who wants Disney Plus has it. They are not making the money back on investment that they put into creating. There's an argument about exclusive content vis-a-vis shows, Andor, Loki, The Mighty Ducks, etc. There's no argument.
All of those are canceled, by the way, apart from Loki.
None of these. No, sorry, there is no financially sound argument for continuing to create exclusive movies for Disney Plus. And here's why I say that. On average, the average low budget movie is $10 to $20 million. They're spending $10 to $20 million.
More like 30 these days with inflation.
Yeah.
Fair
so $10 to $30 million, depending on what it is you're shooting and and what the needs are. So from everything from like Diary of a Wimpy Kid to the Kingdom of Firstborn Children, or whatever the fuck the movie's called, to stuff that they...
Hang on, no. I want to know what you're referencing there.
Yeah, you totally lost me on that one.
Hang on.
Keep going. Let me try to help you here. Keep going.
Okay, it's something Firstborn. There's something movie Firstborn Children, like Firstborn Royals, I think it's called. That there's a longer title than that, but those words are in that title, Firstborn Royals. In any case, then they pulled stuff like Turning Red, which was probably a $200 million feature, from Pixar, pulled it directly out of theaters and threw it directly onto Disney Plus. So my point is,
when we about that same budgetary at the Oscar committee, going, it better win.
Yeah. They spent millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars, creating movies for Disney Plus, or pulling movies out of theaters to put on Disney Plus, in the hopes more people will subscribe to Disney Plus. That didn't pan out nearly as well as they hoped it would. They have lost money hand over fist, and then they didn't release enough movies in theaters to make a good enough. I mean, I think, what was it, third or fourth in the list that we came up with? It was like Universal, Paramount, and then Disney was third or fourth.
Yeah, they were pretty far down there.
Right. The only movies that were successful, I was actually mentioning this to Melissa earlier, there were 4 movies that were successful. 3 of them were Marvel movies, and all 3 underperformed. One movie in the year of our Lord 2022 overperformed and was successful, and that was fucking Avatar. And if not for Avatar, what a bad year Disney would have had. So my point being with all of this is that being a slave to Disney Plus and throwing all of their money and weight behind it has done nothing but hurt this fucking company.
I think the 45-day windows hurt them too.
Yeah. But that's a part of it, Jason.
Yeah.
The fact that, and the reason why I went on this whole tangent was that 70% isn't just people have lost faith in Marvel movies. That is everyone who was going to see this in theaters went and saw it the first opening weekend, and everybody else was like, how was it? It's okay. Great. I'll wait for it to come on Disney Plus. That's what's killing. So this is what I'm trying to get at. The existence of Disney Plus is killing Disney's theatrical exhibition. It is murdering it dead in the fucking crib. They can't get beyond the opening weekend any traction. And if you think about the life cycle of a Disney movie pre-Disney Plus, those things would 6 weeks?
They stuck
would
around
be
forever.
Yeah, people were going forever to go see it, week in and week out. Like the reason why movies like Frozen, Tangled, Moana all did around $1 billion, give or take.
Moana didn't do around $1 billion, but
it was close. It was
Beauty
up
and the
there.
Beast, The Lion King, any of the live action kind of stuff that
they were in theaters for like 6 to 8 weeks, if not 12 weeks total.
I mean, Pete's Dragon wasn't. That was out of there.
That was out of there opening weekend.
Yeah, well, yeah, it didn't even last. It was out of there by Sunday morning. Most movies, people went and saw like The Little Mermaid weeks after that debuted. If you want something more modern, again, Frozen.
Frozen
people
had a long run.
People were going to see Frozen until it was out of the theaters.
Yep.
The jig is up. The fix is in. People know the gimmick now with Disney. If it's not good enough to see in theaters, they'll know from their friends and coworkers by the end of the weekend, and then they'll just go, let me wait a hot minute. It'll be on Disney Plus. Can I tell you how many people 45 days later, 6 weeks, came to me and was like, I finally saw Thor. It sucked. I finally saw Black Panther.
I'll tell you a good example of this, because the movie was not great. Is when I worked at the theater's projection, the movie Wild Hogs. Movie Wild Hogs was in theaters. We had it in our theater for 12 weeks, and it was making money all 12 weeks.
My dad lived in Missouri for a while. He's fond of telling the story about The Blind Spot.
Yeah,
was in his local theater for months and months. It was there, and it was just a constantly able to justify its spot in the rotation.
Yeah, and I think that's hurting not only Disney, but primarily Disney, but that's hurting a lot of movies, because you're not getting that rewatchability factor. Right. You could see it and you're like, there's not a quote unquote movie event anymore.
The issue
there are, but they're few and far between.
Here's what could save Disney given its current setup, and this is the only thing that could save it. If they started making movies that needed to be seen on the big screen and weren't crap.
Well, last part's subjective.
I'll give you the last one subjective, to a large degree.
But I mean, they did it. They did it with Avatar, but that's one.
No, again, when I say they need to start making them, I don't mean one.
Right.
I mean, look, we all watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. Nothing special about seeing that on a theater screen.
Right.
Versus your phone.
Right. That's my point. That's why when you look at that 70% drop, let's switch the weeks and let's put Creed this past weekend instead of Cocaine Bear. Ant-Man, I'm legit sad Cocaine Bear didn't win. I wanted it to, but I'm not entirely surprised. It's such a niche rate. Like Jonas was asking me today, why do you think Cocaine Bear wasn't the #1 movie of the weekend? I'm like, Jonas, it's not easy to get a wide enough audience to pay money to go see a rated R movie in the theater. Yeah. So I'm not totally surprised. I wanted it to. I was cheering for it.
Yeah. Look, man, a 23 million opening weekend for Cocaine Bear is still a win. It's just, again, we're kind of sad about it.
Look, barring everything else and my own kind of stupidity about it, I'm fine with what it did. And Elizabeth Banks is getting pats on the back from Universal, no doubt.
And she probably should.
No one's mad at Elizabeth Banks. This is not a loss.
Not for this movie, but for a lot of other reasons.
No one who matters is mad at Elizabeth Banks.
I resemble that remark.
Everyone that matters loves Ned Flanders. But my point being, no one is mad at Elizabeth Banks for this movie. She did fine. It's a win. This will make money. We're all going to move on from that.
The sequel's going to suck.
The point is, it probably wasn't the movie to unseat Ant-Man in its second week. Creed, Dungeons and Dragons, not Shazam.
Shazam would have.
No, not the way it's tracking. Maybe
No, hang on.
It would have.
I don't care. I'm not saying by a lot. Shazam's opening weekend is going to be better than $31.9 million.
Okay, so Shazam. So take any one of the movies in March or April. That's a PG-13 or PG crowd pleaser. They're beating Ant-Man and the Wasp in that second week. The only reason why it lasted 2 weeks is because it went up against a rated R niche animal on cocaine movie.
Yeah, and most of those other ones, they're beating it by a wide margin.
Oh my God, if Dungeons and Dragons came out after Ant-Man and the Wasp, it would have been in the dirt. It'd have put them in the dirt and leave his ass for dead.
And I think this was going to say a lot of our openings going forward. There used to be where studios would fear opening after a Marvel movie, but seeing these returns, there's that fear is no longer there. They're not seeing. They're like, look.
It depends on what it is. They're not, no one's going to counter program Guardians of the Galaxy, but they moved the Marvels to November. They're looking at Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they're taking lots of angry men out there, lots of angry white bearded men. I'm counter programming against the Marvels. Fuck Disney.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be, exceptions, like you said.
You need the right property to do it with, but you absolutely could.
Look at the balls on fucking Paramount. Like, would they put Sonic up against? Oh shit. They put Sonic 3 up against something, and we were like really shocked by that. I'll look in a second.
And it's starting to make more sense. Like suddenly, like, You've got, Shadow the Hedgehog coming out. You've got the band all together. The first 2 Sonic movies are well received and are fairly well liked by the vast majority of people. I certainly didn't have much.
Avatar. Dude, Paramount told Disney to suck its big dick. Suck its big maverick dick. That's fucking ballsy, yo.
They're putting it up against Avatar 3.
Yeah, they're putting Sonic the Hedgehog 3 against Avatar 3. Motherfucker, what?
Paramount?
Yeah.
You know what?
Paramount and Universal. Here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher.
They might take some L's along the way, but they are afraid of nothing.
Yo, Paramount gives no fucks.
They are Roberto Duran staring down that horse going, you know what? I think I can take you.
Yeah, and the horse is fucking Disney at this point. For those that don't know, Roberto Duran knocked out a horse. All right. Moving on.
Arnold Schwarzenegger punched a camel.
I mean, who hasn't?
You've never punched a camel.
Yes, Ant-Man and the Wasp retained its spot.
You've eaten a camel, but you've never punched one.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do.
Cocaine Bear debut number 2. Jesus, I'm moving on, fellas. Jesus. When I start punctuating my sentences with the word "yo," it's time to move on. Jesus Revolution from formerly a studio, Lionsgate.
You know what? That's for the low budget that thing has. That's a solid opening for that movie.
That's fine. Lionsgate is still fucking recovering from the dismemberment by cocaine Moonfall.
Like somebody needs to arrest Roland Emmerich for what he did to Lionsgate. Like, that should be illegal.
Yeah, it really should. Like the fucking shrifting that happened there. Avatar dropped from 2 to 4. Puss in Boots 4 to 5. Magic Mike's Last Dance. I didn't realize this, but Magic Mike's Last Dance was supposed to go to HBO Max. Speaking of a streaming service that killed the fucking studio. Ugh.
Didn't help. I like HBO Max though.
I mean, yeah, so do I. But I mean, like, let's start calling spades a spade here. Fucking Disney Plus and HBO Max did nothing for their respective studios except hurt it.
Not what they did. They did not take the appropriate steps to make sure that, like, they didn't know what they were doing with it.
Yeah,
I think is the real. If their big thing had been, we have a bunch of properties, you like them, here they are. You can't find them, on Netflix or Amazon anymore as part of your subscription. Come watch them here. That would have been fine. And then at the end of our normal theatrical window, you find them here, not elsewhere. That would have been fine.
Yeah,
but that's not what they did.
Honestly, the 45-day window was the dumbest fucking idea. They should have kept it to 120 days and left it at that, or at least 60.
We all understand why they did it.
Sure. We
were there for the pandemic and what was going on, but man, they can't. Like, no one has backed away from it, and they really need to.
HBO. Yeah, so hang on. HBO Max did something bold with the day and date thing in the year of our Lord 2021. And then in the year of our Lord 2022, they went, we're done with this now. It's been a fine year, but we don't need to keep doing this. There's no reason why Disney Plus by 2022 should have kept the 45-day window.
Yeah.
that, I mean, never mind like the pride stuff, the inclusive stuff, never mind, that the parks have become completely outpriced for the average person. The first thing they should have fucking done when they replaced CEOs was get rid of that 45-day window. It has done nothing but hurt that studio.
I mean, the first thing they should have done was fire Kathleen Kennedy and try to salvage Lucasfilm, but
or sacrifice her to the lava gods.
I'm very much okay with that. I volunteer to shove her off the cliff, and I will not be the first one making that volunteer.
That's a long fucking. That's a long line. It forms.
The line starts here, goes around the block.
80 for Brady, dropped from 6 to 7. You ever wonder if people listening to this, it's just like, I like the show and everything, and I like when they talk the movies, but they get to that money part, they look like they're having a good time. I don't understand a fucking word they're saying. Who the hell is Kathleen Kennedy?
Anyone listening to us knows who Kathleen Kennedy is.
Anybody listening to us probably has brain damage, but that's
that too.
Oh no,
that's not. Hang on, I can't say that. I'm pretty sure my mom, aunt, and their 3-year-old are
good. When they call you up later, like, who the fuck is Kathleen Kennedy? Just don't even worry about it. But just know she ruined Star Wars.
Google it. Google's your friend.
And is trying real hard to ruin Indiana Jones.
She's trying with all her might. Knocked the Cabin fell from 5 to 8. Missing stayed at number 9. A Man Called Otto stayed at number 10. And then rounding out the top 20 are Titanic, Titanic, ladies and gentlemen, 25-year anniversary. Because James Cameron walks around with a mirror in front of himself. Just like he has to have two boys to guide him so that he doesn't walk into walls and shit. But that's where we are with James Cameron. He's just all day long talking to the mirror. And that's what convinced him to release fucking Titanic in the middle of Avatar making all the money ever.
Hey, it still worked for him.
Yeah, no shit. Marlo 8 to 12, Megan 11 to 13. A bunch of Oscar-nominated short films, 12 to 14. Emily jumped, I guess, went in a bunch of more theaters. Yeah,
it looks like it got its wide release.
Yeah, that jumped from 31 to 15. Pathan, 14 to 16. Something called Selfie debuted at 17. Violent Night back in theaters.
Woo!
For who knows what the fuck reason.
Don't care.
That jumped from 43 to 18. Women Bitching maintained its spot at 19. And The Amazing Maurice, who we all know and love, from Viva Pictures, dropped from 17 to 20. Also debuting are Bunker, Path of the Panther, The Quiet Girl. I don't believe in such things.
Yeah, that's misleading.
A movie from My Home Collection, My Happy Ending. Linoleum.
My Happy Ending, the Robert Kraft story.
Chocolat, God's Time, The Sorrow and the Pity. And that is that. All right, worldwide. You know what won't be on this list, ladies and gentlemen? Fucking Megan. Damn you, France. Fucking France. Blame France. The number one movie in the world with for a Marvel movie, a paltry Limp Dick, $363 million worldwide.
Okay, let's take a second here.
Yes, sir.
We've seen the opening, we've seen the drop off. Does Ant-Man and the Wasp cross the $700 million mark?
No, it does not.
No, I think I predicted it not to even hit 6.
Okay,
I'm honestly at the point where I'm kind of with Jason there. Like, if this thing does cross 6, that would be a pretty serious win, all things considered. It would still be a loss, but
I was called crazy when I said it too.
Look, bros. Creed, Scream, Shazam, John Wick, Dungeons and Dragons. You want more? I got more for you.
Keep going.
Yeah. Super Mario. That's going to be the first movie to make $1 billion this year, by the way. China release, Mario, animated, family.
Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm going to go with $700 million for Dungeons and Dragons, but Super Mario Brothers,
I don't
even make $1 billion this year.
I'm not even sure about $700 million for Dungeons. Like, people,
I'm bullish on it, but I mean the high end is $700 million.
Okay, that's fair. It might here's the problem that movie ran into. There's still a lot of really hard feelings about how Wizards was handling D&D very recently, and that backlash.
Keep going 1 second.
Yeah, the backlash to that got mainstream press. So
Well,
I'm
I
not-
mean, it's got a casual. I mean, my wife is not the biggest.
Look, it's aiming at the casual
gabbler.
audience, which is what it should do. You aim at the casual audience, right? They're the largest percentage of fans
Yeah.
of anything. And I'm not saying it's going to fail. I don't think it's going to fail.
She made a good comparison to what she expects it to be. She expects it to be a Knight's Tale, similar in that same vein.
Okay, I can kind of see it. I don't
And
think it's going to have the personality of A Knight's Tale, but
Well, I think it has just enough to draw. I mean, draw that audience in that that likes A Knight's Tale, likes the Game of Thrones stuff. I think it appeals just enough to that casual audience to do some good numbers. I'm not saying it's going to be great. I'm saying that
you just said it was going to make $1 billion.
I'm saying I'm saying worldwide, I think it could cross $1 billion. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying that aesthetically it'll be great. Like it'll be great visually, but I think it appeals to just enough of the casual audience to creep through that $1 billion.
Are we still talking about D&D or Mario?
D&D at the moment, but no,
there's no fucking way D&D makes $1 billion.
I'm kind of with you, Mark. Like I think it does solid. I think it's a solid hit. I kind of think that Mario is going to be your first $1 billion picture.
I would bet the fucking house on it that Mario is the first $1 billion.
Let me
I would not bet the house. Like
as soon as they announced it was going to open in China, I don't know if you know this or not, but China really likes video games. I mean, China itself carried World of Warcraft, who nobody in America saw except me and you and my dad.
It's true.
Well, I mean,
and they're like almost 500 million.
Again, like China's gonna help, and the fact that it has a China release is what might tip it over that mark.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not gambling my house on it.
The reason why I went through this, okay, so Mario, Renfield, Evil Dead, Evil Dead, Big George Foreman, Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a break on May 12th. But
Guardians,
who knows what's going to
Guardians might hit $1 billion.
Fast X, The Little Mermaid. We're now into June. Spider-Man,
So
Transformers, Elemental, Flash.
Okay, we don't need to be this deep into this to make the point about how little we've passed the point when it's actually out of theaters at this point. Now you realize,
right? Well, so, Ant-Man and the Wasp has all the competition ever for the spring and into the summer, and then the 45-day window it dies between 500 and 600 million. If it goes past 600 million, I'll eat my fucking hat.
Ooh.
Not literally.
Fair enough.
On camera.
Pathan at 124 million. Titanic in the year of our Lord 2023 is the number 3rd worldwide most successful movie of the year.
Doing better than Morbius.
Doing better than most movies.
We got to retire that joke. I'm not.
No, but sure. Here's the thing: you don't even have to kick Morbius, which we've now kicked to death. Look at you want to make that joke. Titanic currently doing better than Knock at the Cabin, Plane, Magic Mike, Missing, 80 for 80.
This is what we're going to do for the rest of this year. Here's all the movies doing worse than a 25th anniversary re-release of Titanic.
Yeah, this is not good. Hey, Operation Fortune finally got a domestic release.
I saw that.
This Friday, as a matter of fact. It's going against Creed. Which we're not doing anymore because I chose to do Creed I chose you to give you the week off and chose to review that with Jason.
Yay!
I was not. Look, man, if you want me to be part of the review and make jokes about it, I would. I was not going to watch the movie.
It's up to you. You want to come on and just listen?
I'll take the night off. I don't get too many of those. So
hey, you know what that means, Mark?
Shirtless review.
Yes, shirtless review.
Oh boy!
Neither of you look anything approximating the.
I'm putting pasties on.
Look, here's the only thing I'm going to say about that. Anyone who watches Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors shirtless boxing, then has to look at you two shirtless.
Hey,
that's a fair comparison.
Look, man.
Anyway,
I appreciate all the steroids those two gentlemen are on, but.
All right, so finishing out the top 10 for the worldwide box office again: Knock at the Cabin, Plane, Magic Mike, Missing 80 for Brady.
Channing
Something called-
Tatum has. I said this last week, man.
Yeah,
Channing
aged
Tatum
like milk.
aged like milk.
And debuting on the... This depresses me. It didn't even crack the top 10. $28 million for Cocaine Bear.
It'll get there for a couple of weeks, and then it'll get knocked out. Just give it a bit.
It's going to get up to number 7.
Well, look, Cocaine Bear is one of those.
It's not going to get into the top 10 because Creed's gonna be in the top 10. It's gonna knock fucking Operation Fortune or whatever down.
Look, man, Cocaine Bear is one of those that might actually have legs. Like,
yeah, I think it would.
Niche. It'll probably stick around for a little bit. It might get into the top 10.
Tomorrow when it gets announced PVOD, I'm gonna laugh.
Okay, that would be funny. Like, I would legitimately laugh at that.
All right, and we just went through the calendar, so you know our thoughts and projections for how well this is going to do and all that. So let's go ahead and do the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right, and one of those rare things where the audience and the critics kind of got it. What kills me about this, though, is that it's got a 70% fresh score. Started at 90, which means like the initial reviews were like, "This is amazing,"
Okay,
and then
hang on.
some of the stick in the mud started weighing in, and it came down.
Mark, I saw the screen cap of it at 90% in the 90s. You know how many reviews there were for that particular screen cap?
1.
I'm not kidding. 5 reviews.
Nice. Squares. Anyway, the audience, over 1,000 verified ratings, has it at 75. With 224, it's got 70%. Yeah, it's fine. Critics' consensus: despite Cocaine Bear's half-baked plot and uneven acting, the titular fur fiend's scene-snorting frenzy will give B-movie enthusiasts a contact high.
Not
Certainly,
wrong.
I would say that pretty much was Jason's entire review.
Again, like I said, I did not love this movie. I wanted to, but that's a fair review of it.
All right. Rich Juzwiak of The Muse, Jezebel. This movie simultaneously made me feel nothing and yearn for more. Sir, we are not interested in your existential crisis. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am, only if it leads to him exiting the human experience.
I'm just hoping, he hangs himself and
oh my God,
nobody cares.
I tried to be coy about it. You're just out here trying to get us copyright.
Fucking,
you're just trying to get us hit on YouTube.
Look at Robert, of all people, is like Captain Sultan. There's Jason. I hope he gets a dick in the ass. Like, Jesus Christ.
I did not say I hope he gets ass raped by a gorilla with gonorrhea, but I was thinking it.
Can you not be delicate? Jesus Christ.
No, I can't. Have you not met me? Hi, Mark. Have you not met me?
Vincent Mancini, film drunk. Cocaine Bear is like if you bought a funny t-shirt and then found out you had to wear it every day for an entire year. Or like the meme equivalent of your dad catching you smoking and making you finish the pack.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's ever been laid.
Hang on, that's a personal attack not relevant to the argument.
Also not wrong.
He's not he's not entirely wrong here. Like, this movie does kind of wear out its welcome a little bit. Like, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I think I met a guy that has seen it 5 times thus far.
You're fucking lying.
I will put my hand on my dick and swear to it.
That man is a hero, and you should thank him.
He is the hero we need, but not the one we deserve.
Darn right.
Right. He was excited every time.
I'll bet. And only one of those times he was pantsless.
So your friend, he's not going there on day group outings from that facility.
He brought a date once, and that it ended poorly.
I seen these no slip socks, but just kind of overlooked them.
Alex Sevaliv, a film threat, desperately in search of a coherent plot. We just stop for a second.
Yeah,
look, this movie's a lot of things, but hard to understand was not one of them.
Look, if you want if you want to criticize the plot being thin, that's one thing. This is not an incoherent plot by any stretch of the imagination, you idiot. Your argument is poor.
Cocaine Bear strings a dozen of them together. What? With the hope that something sticks, a gag will land, a brutal death will be effective, and a moment will resonate. None of that happens. Ooh.
Okay, hang on. As a guy for whom a lot of this movie did not resonate the way it was supposed to, you have to acknowledge that what's not working is subjective, not objective. And there is a big difference there that you need to acknowledge in that point. Also, you're confusing gags with plots? How, like, it threw a bunch of plots at the screen. No, it didn't. The plot is very simple. And for some
Bear
reason, you
on
still missed
cocaine.
it.
Wendy Ide has seen movies before, of the Observer UK top critic. She gets paid for this. It may not be Grizzly Man meets Scarface, but it leaves snakes on a plane standing on the runway.
I disagree.
Ugh.
Snakes on a Plane was better.
You just Googled a bunch of animal movies that were B movies, didn't you? That's
Yeah.
all you did here. You haven't seen either of those films. You might have seen Scarface and then immediately went on a tirade about how it unfairly portrayed immigrants, didn't you?
No, hold on. She's seen the Fozzie Bear meme and then made the Scarface
That's probably more true.
Let's see here. Brian Eggert of Deep Focus Review. Clunky and less off the wall than it wants to be. Cocaine Bear works better as a concept than a movie. You know, I kind of had a similar thought. Like,
that's not wrong.
I got the feeling when I was done, like there wasn't enough movie for this to be a movie. Like this would have worked better as like a short film or like a sketch.
Here's what this needed. Like this movie, the script really needed another like 4 months of work to really kind of drive. This feels like a rush job.
Hey, I forgot to mention it earlier. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, $3,355,000. It's number 39 for the year. By the way, you want to know what the budget on that was?
Yeah,
$250.
Keep going, and I'll just interrupt you again.
All right. Let's go with from what's on screen. Oh, Kevin Carr.
Oh,
There
hang
he
on.
is.
Where? Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
right
right
there.
It's a fun, bloody mess of a film and a throwback to the animal attack movies of the 70s and 80s. You're not wrong,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, but
Hello,
that's also
Mr.
not
Obvious.
that's not terribly helpful.
Yeah, that's the most obvious review I've ever seen.
Okay,
This
so
is a
Winnie the
tweet,
Pooh
not a
budget.
review.
So Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was shot for less than $100,000 and made $3.2 million. Hey, there's your formula, everyone.
You know what? Take your winnings and be happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're gonna fucking beat this to death and drive it into the ground. They're like doing more of these.
Yeah,
Speaking of which, have you heard,
Peter
Jason?
Pan.
Did you hear about Meth Gator?
I know that there's meth gators. We've
No,
discussed this multiple times.
Asylum is doing a Meth Gator movie coming out this summer.
The
I have not.
mockbuster people.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have not heard this, but is it on
we
the
might
schedule
have.
yet?
Yeah, you and I might have to. It hasn't had a release date, you psycho. But when it does, you and I might have to do like a first watch, like alternative commentary for Meth Gator.
You know what? Hang on. There's a real studio that's going to try and scoop them with like trying to still build out the extended universe of drug animals.
Well, I was gonna say, didn't Elizabeth Banks also talk about doing like fucking Cocaine Shark or some shit?
Meth Shark, wasn't it?
That would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, please, like, it's funny the first time. Please stop. You're not a child.
It's going to be Cocaine Bear versus Meth Gator. You know, we're going to get these. We're going to get these B movie mashups that we did in the '80s.
Like the real problem is no one involved in this is talented enough to make the gag work on a consistent basis.
Hey, me and Mark know a guy.
Leah Greenblatt of Entertainment Weekly, top critic. In every dumb and delightful way, it's just about a bear standing in front of the world asking for more cocaine till she explodes.
Would have been better if the bear.
That's funny.
Not wrong. That's not wrong.
All right, Lauren Coates of the Mary Sue, Robert Winfree, the Mary Sue.
I got you, Mary Sue.
Hey, now this is a PG show.
This
This
is a family entertainment, yo. Though lacking in substance or originality beyond the hook of the premise, there are enough creative kills and surreal comedic beats in Cocaine Bear to make for a rollicking ride of a survival thriller.
You keep telling me how I feel about things. See how that goes. Like,
Our friend Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com.
Jeff.
What was hilarious about last week is them not knowing that you know Jeff personally and you having to dive in front of him to take bullets. That was great. I laughed hard at that.
I know Jeff. Jeff and I did the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast together for years. He's a friend of mine. I like Jeff.
Yeah, and you had to like fucking
and he
calm
has-
the wolves down on that show. Didn't
I-
you?
And Jeff has a pretty good take on most movies.
I
I mean, pretty.
Look,
I
pretty in
tend to
the
agree
vein.
more with his movie reviews than his MMA
Yeah.
opinions. I'll tell you that much.
Look, here's what I said last week for those who might have missed it. Like, Jeff's a very positive reviewer. He will skew positive given the opportunity, and that's not a bad thing. Like, that's some people just have a more positive outlook about these kind of things than others. I have a more negative one. But
do?
Jeff's no.
I would never think you would be negative.
I was trying to slip that by you and was making sure you're paying attention.
You were so positive for so many years. It's really surprising.
Really
Yeah.
was. All those years, like my first 5, I was such a happy person.
Yeah. No, I don't remember fighting to death with you about certain things like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I remember you guys yelling at each other on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Every
read Jeff.
fucking show.
Yeah, so
Jeff-
again, I just kind of had to mention, like, Jeff's a positive. Jeff will give things a positive slant whenever he can because he
Yeah.
feels positively about things. Nothing
Jeff
wrong with
Harris
it.
of 401 Mania. Cocaine Bear is amusing, goofy, fun. The premise is weird and ridiculous, but the movie embraces its absurdity with a fun, self-aware script. You're not wrong, Jeff. You can continue
Right.
to be our
Oh.
friend.
Tonally, yes. Like, again, my issues with this movie are not are structural. They're not tonal. Like, everyone's in on the joke.
Now, I say this because I didn't say it during the review. The only
Wait.
thing that I
Jeremy Johns.
okay,
No, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say I'm not overly 1,000% positive. I did have some issues with it. I felt like it was really disjointed, and it felt like 2 movies going at once, which is really odd of me saying. And the whole time lapse thing really took me out of it, and that's really weird to say because people they had the Jason Voorhees teleport machine, where the cop magically got there like 3 hours later and beat them to the gazebo, and then next thing you know, it's nighttime, and then they're walking out of the forest and it's daytime.
For
So-
the record, the other big problem with the finale of this movie is that they had it at night for no good reason.
Yeah, it was dark for no. They go into it's daylight. They walk into the cave. They're in the cave for like 10 minutes, and they come out and it's like midnight.
And then again, hypothermia for all of them, but no, they just walk it off.
and like they walk this like 2-mile trail and they magically dry out. Have no signs of like dirt or grime on them. Like they all took showers at the ranger station before they leave, and it is just like I said. I love this movie, but going back, it wasn't perfect, but it was exactly what I expected it to be, and it was exactly the movie that you could just sit down. It's a definite popcorn movie. You don't have to overthink it. We're breaking it down because that's our job here, but it's an enjoyable movie.
Last one, Jeremy Johns of JeremyJohns.com.
Yes, self-employed loser.
He said the thing.
I gotta give you like 1 out of every 5 or so, or you'll stop doing it.
Right. A movie with a poster like that is not a movie to take too seriously. Please understand this is not me trying to take the movie too seriously. It's just me asking that a movie live up to its own poster. The movie's not that fun.
Okay, 2 things. This is badly phrased.
Yeah.
Like, if you get to like the heart of his argument, he and I are actually on the same page here.
Mm-hmm.
But I know plenty of people. In fact, there are a few people in the theater with me for whom this was a blast and a half. You're not the arbiter of fun, man. Like, you can say the better way to phrase this is kind of how I did, not to toot my own horn here, but if the comedy is not your bag, then there's a lot of this movie that is not going to be fun, and that's just the way it is.
You know what I was thinking about? Willy's Wonderland. Like so very similar thing. You have a tight space, a bunch of dopes, and a murderer walking around. but there was enough. It was like this. It was a kitschy premise with a
Dude, Nicolas Cage taking his break every hour on the hour or whatever. Like, no, this is my. I don't care if you're getting beaten to death by the animatronic animals. I'm on my break.
Yeah, another one like the Banana Splits movie that Alexis and I reviewed that was on Sci-Fi. Where again, if you have to keep it moving. If you stop the movie at any time, you've killed it dead. Anything like this where the premise is essentially silly thing wanders around murdering dopes, it has to be like a heavy metal song. You must keep the pace up. There's no time for slow.
And that is kind of the big downfall of Cocaine Bear, is that there's periods when there's not a lot of forward momentum.
Yeah. All right. So this week on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. So we're not in our normal Tuesday slot because I will be at a hockey game tomorrow. I'm going to see the Panthers play somebody. The Panthers play the Lightning. Duh, dick.
I mean, I was going to say, like, the Lightning are your local team, so
right.
Can you get into a fight?
Probably with my roommate. He's a Panthers fan, so I think that like two of us are Lightning fans in the house, and two of us are Panther fans.
Okay, you need to shove him into a group of Lightning fans at one point and go.
No, I want to.
No. You shove him in there, and then you have to like. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie I'm about to reference here, but there was an '80s movie, partially starring Fred Savage, if memory serves, called The Wizard.
Yeah, we've seen The Wizard.
You need to shove this guy into a group of angry hockey fans and then scream, "He touched my breast."
Will do. It's his birthday, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Happy birthday from me to you, Chris.
You get beat down by a bunch of angry drunk hockey fans in Tampa,
I was
Florida.
thinking about treating him like the guy with the mullet that became internet famous for getting punched out at a hockey game.
So that's why I'm not.
You don't want to try and
Damn You
turn him
Hollywood.
into the superhuman.
No. Oh my God.
You don't want to throw him onto a bunch of Legos and cheese graters and
shit. Anywho, that's why we did this Monday instead of Tuesday.
You didn't say no.
However, hang on. Is he coming back out? Hey, come here. So I was telling him that for your birthday, that we're taking you to the Panthers Lightning game, and I was told to shove you forcibly into a group of angry Lightning fans, and then yell out, "You touched my breasts."
I'm supposed to yell that out?
I'm going to yell that out so that you'll get the shit beat out of you for being a Panthers fan at a Lightning game. Happy birthday.
Hey, I'm swinging.
Chris says he's going down swinging.
It's a hockey game. You got to go down swinging.
So I will not be around tomorrow night, but tomorrow during the day, we're wrapping up our coverage of his Darkest Materials. It'll be series 3, not season for some odd reason. That'll be me and Alexis. I don't even know what the fuck I'm going to say about this show. It's one of those where it's easy enough to conclude. I like recording with Alexis. I have time during the day, so I'm going to do this. But this is but this is one of those shows where I started it at a time where we were doing everything, and it's one of the ones I'm going to wrap up. But it is the exact example of why I don't want to review fucking television shows anymore.
That's fine.
Like some of these shows, like we said, me and her talked about this with what was the last thing we reviewed?
Resident Alien.
Yeah, where like we spent at least 30 minutes repeating the same thing. Hey, some shows are just fun to watch and not to talk about. Yeah, so we're gonna we're gonna squeeze an hour out of his Darkest Materials season 3, and I never have to think about that show again. I'm also not doing the Animaniacs season 3 as I did the first 2 seasons with her. However, stepping into the breach is the pun-tacular Zachary Strobel, one of our animation experts here at the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. So they will be reviewing Animaniacs season 3, which I did start watching. I mentioned it to my son earlier, and he was like, "Hey, can we watch it together?" And I said, "Sure." I'm actually home for once in my life. Let's watch some Animaniacs. It's still funny. I just don't spend an hour talking about it anymore. I've kind of said all I needed to say. And then on March 2nd, Jason and I will conclude our look at Black cinema. We are doing a survey, if you will, of Eddie Murphy movies. We will be doing Harlem Nights, Trading Places, and Life. Nelly. This weekend, we've got an Everyone Loves a Bad Guy for Frankenstein. And then on Sunday, Metal Hammer of Doom re-airs This one is Iced Earth Plagues of Babylon from 2014. Next week, we have we'll have a page up on our blog for anyone that gives a shit. Archie versus Predator. I forgot I was on that show. It's fun. And then Robert, as we said, will not be here next week. He is taking the week off. And we wish him well.
The list of things I'd rather do than watch the Creed trilogy is long and includes a lot of painful things.
So maybe myself and Jason Teasley. Myself and Jason Teasley shirtlessly reviewing Creed 3. I made my son watch the first two movies. That was fun the other day.
Child abuse. All that is child abuse.
All right, Thursday before I go away for a week, myself and Pat Mullen will be doing another History of Boxing podcast. We're going to be looking at Aaron Pryor versus Alexis Arguello. So that'll be fun. And then I'm away for a week. We're doing a bunch of re-airs, but the one live show will be hosted by Alexis. That'll be Dorian Price, Robert Winfree, and Jason Teasley, and they will be reviewing Scream 6 along with a bunch of other re-airs because I will be on a cruise.
If you're curious about Scream 6, you can find the spoilers for the ending online. They have been leaked and they are accurate.
Oh, awesome.
I don't want to see the spoilers.
I have not looked. I will not be spoiling anything because I think that's kind of a jerky thing to do, especially if your movie's premise is the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
But I might look them up because I'm me.
All right, well, I won't be there. It'll be those four led by Alexis, who last week, if anyone was wondering why I was not on last week's show, the guy who I'm going to shove into a group of angry Lightning fans, he got stuck at work without a car. These things happen, and my wife was out, his girlfriend was out, so I was the one person left able to drive that could go get him. And because I am the hero he needs, but not the one he deserves, I abandoned my show and I went to go get him. Jason Teasley, show us.
He deserves the Joker.
Jason Teasley, show us where you pissed from.
I'm sorry.
He'll do that. He'll do that. You can't make that joke with him.
Yeah.
While you do that, I'm going to check my Snapchat. Go ahead.
You can find me here on the W2M network, dicking around with Mark and doing fun stuff with our fantasy booking of who we would like to see in Prison Girl shows. As we talk Black history, go back and look at the archives. Me and Mark have some really good takes on Black history, surprising from two white men. Our takes on Black history, especially Black exploitation, which is really odd.
You're trying to bring it back, and we all know it.
Hey, you're not wrong.
Hey, I'm not saying a word.
Hey, look, man, I've made the pitch before that the Blade movie from Marvel needs to be set in the 70s and shot in the style of a blaxploitation film.
Shot like Blackula, I would be down. I would love it.
Come on, keep going.
I'm still pissed off because Mark did not review Blackula 2 with me, and I will never forgive him for that.
Oh my God, you girl!
Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to get through my plugs here.
Mark, don't step on his trauma.
Yeah, I must be validated, Mark.
Yeah,
I gotta feel validated.
Okay,
you're gonna be validated.
I gotta be the pretty girl in the room for once. But with the upcoming draft, you can find me over on Mosaic Media MC, where me and Ty are prepping for our NFL draft and our free agency that's coming up. Free agency starts in about 2 weeks, so that's going to be fun. We're going to be dropping some TikToks and Instagram posts on that. Again, that's Mosaic MC on all of your platforms: TikTok, audio, Facebook, and Twitter.
I'm still fucking laughing at Sonic 3 in Paramount. Hey, we have an entire calendar year we can release Sonic 3. When would you like to do it, sir? When does Avatar come out? Just that's a mighty large fetus you've got there, sir.
You know what? We're going to have the Battle of the Blues, and I think the Hedgehog has got it.
What?
Wow.
I'm going to say this now. It's not going to happen until December of 2024, and who knows if we'll all still be here by then. But I'm going to say this. If I am, I'm going to say this here and now in the year of our Lord, 2023. I'm pulling for Sonic 3 to beat Avatar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all three of would.
There's no way in hell, but we will be rooting.
I want to live in the universe where we wake up Monday morning and we're stretching, we're drinking our coffee.
Sonic upsets Avatar. James Cameron jumps out window.
James Cameron throws himself and his mirror off a building, and he's like looking at it the whole way down.
Oh well, that's a given.
Yeah.
But yes, I want to wake up. I want to see I want to go on Facebook, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, and there it is, Variety. Sonic the Hedgehog, #1 movie. #1 movie in the world.
Well,
Avatar by one shiny nickel.
In fairness, there's plenty of time for either of those movies to get bumped for any number of production time.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
No, that's the gamble Sonic's taking. Actually, it's not that we're gonna beat them. It's there's no way you actually make the date you've set right now.
Yeah, that they really rushed. I mean, they must have had some stuff in the can already. But all right.
Oh, hang on. He's Avatar's like.
No, not Avatar. I'm talking about Sonic.
Oh, yeah. They're probably gonna reuse some stuff. Like,
yeah. All right, go ahead and do your plug so we can get out of here.
All right. In the interest of getting out of here quickly, no one cares what I do.
Okay, cool.
Okay, bye.
I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. If you're interested in my thoughts on the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. This last episode was a preview for UFC 285, as well as a review of the last event that happened, but it wasn't a great event. More time devoted to 285 with the return of John Jones. Finally, from a 3-year hiatus, he's back, and after a decade of saying, I'm going to try my hand at heavyweight, he's finally trying his hand at heavyweight.
Is this the first? Because I thought him and Dan Cormier did this already.
Light heavyweight only for those two. Then Cormier moved back to heavyweight to win the belt there, but they never fought.
Oh, shit. Okay.
They only fought at light
I'm pissed I'm missing this then, because I'm going to be at the Dropkick Murphys this Saturday.
It's John and Cyril gone. Like, I'm looking forward to it because I'm me, but you might have a better time. What else we got on that show? Valentina Shevchenko is probably going to kill Alexa Grasso. Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jeff Neal. There's some good stuff there. So if you're interested in any of that, I have a full preview. Give that a listen. I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling for 411mania.com. So when we're done here, I'm going to be covering, we'll be doing my write-up for AEW's Dark Elevation. Only 43 minutes this week, so that's nice.
Nice.
Hey, your show that just went up, do you cover the Jake Paul stuff at all? I haven't looked yet.
Like right near the end, I kind of go, yeah, does anyone actually care? Like, I half watched the fight. I didn't like. I would have talked more about it if I'd been actually watching it, but I was doing some other stuff, so I was listening to it more than watching it.
Yeah, same. I was watching it at work.
So my read on it at the moment is like 74-75 either way is perfectly acceptable.
I think really my take on it was Jake Paul probably ekes out the split decision had he not lost a point early in the fight.
Well, the ref did take a point from Tommy Fury later to balance that out. So.
All right. Anything else?
It kind of was what it was as far as that goes. So again, you could score that like a point either way is fine. I don't care that Tommy Fury won. That's fine. I will be covering again later this week. If MLW is back for Fusion, then I will be covering that. If not, then I won't. And WWE SmackDown on Friday. Oh, and Sunday. I kind of got roped into this. I will be covering AEW Revolution.
Are you the only one left working for that fucking site? Jesus.
No. It was supposed to be Jeremy Thomas, and then he had a last minute thing, and I'm the only one who will do Sunday stuff, I think, as a general rule. Okay. Unless it's been scheduled out, I'm the only one available to live cover things Sundays.
Am I home Sunday? Oh yeah, I might actually be home for that.
So I will be covering that. Come by and watch me piss off all the AEW fans because my taste in professional wrestling generally does not line up with theirs. So,
all right,
come by. That'll be fun. I will be covering WWE SmackDown on Friday as well, per usual. So, and then Saturday, of course, UFC 285, 2 title fights. The return of John Jones should be a good time. Tune in for any and all of that. If you're interested in my thoughts and takes on professional wrestling or mixed martial arts.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. Cocaine Bear, it's good to be back. I was a little upset when it happened, but it was in good hands last week, but I do hate when I miss a week, and I'm glad to be back with my buddies. And I'll be happy to be here again next week. Sad that I'm going to miss yet another week, but family cruise, what can be done? And then shouldn't be missing any other weeks. Either we'll be on Mondays or Tuesdays for the remainder of the year, barring any unforeseen calamity. So for Robert Winfree, for the Protocol Son Cocaine Cub, I'm Mr. Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.